government caucus room and given us citizenship.
Grant
Two
Robertson.
words for that member, and it may actually be one word: Transrail. Transrail shares. If that member wants to get up and talk about forgetfulness, about overseas transactions, this side of the House knows very well the record of his leader on that. And the record of his leader on brain fades when it comes to issues like Kim.com, when he was briefed, what he knew, exceeds anyone else in this House for forgetfulness. And I'm going to miss Mr Brownlee from our Friday evening chats, which he's pulled out of because apparently I was all over him and he couldn't get a word in edgeways. Well, sorry about that, Jerry. Bad luck. We'll see you back any time you like on the radio on Friday. Mr Speaker.
Point of order, Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
No one's going to call me a coward for getting away from Grant Robertson being all over me.
That's not a point of order. That's a debatable matter.
In your dreams, Jerry, in your dreams. Mr Speaker, New Zealanders rightly expect... Mr Speaker, New Zealanders rightly expect a standard of transparency, accountability and fairness from their governments. They think that when somebody gets into government, they will take seriously their responsibilities as ministers. And what we have seen in the debacle over the GCSB's involvement in Operation Debut, the Kim.com case, is a complete lack of oversight from the minister responsible for GCSB, John Key. Because that is what we are being asked to believe, that an operation that has been described by the police as an unprecedented role for GCSB was not even reported to the Prime Minister. That's what we're being asked to believe. We're being asked to believe that when spying went on at the behest of the FBI, that the Prime Minister didn't know. We are being asked to believe that our spy agencies, having worked out on the 22nd of February that they were spying unlawfully, did not tell their minister, the minister in charge. That is what we are being asked to believe. But the bottom line, Mr Speaker, is whichever way we look at it, John Key's oversight of this agency has been at best loose and lax, and at worst he is part of a cover-up. Because what we see in the papers that have been released by the court, Mr Speaker, is a pattern of behaviour that sought to minimise the actions that were being undertaken. There is not much more serious in our country, Mr Speaker, than the power to spy on people. That's why the GCSB Act says that New Zealanders and New Zealand residents in particular are not allowed to be spied upon. And the GCSB went into this surveillance operation, Mr Speaker, without even sorting out the residency status of the person who was under surveillance. That is incredibly sloppy. It is not the kind of thing New Zealanders would expect. And, Mr Speaker, during the process, twice, once in mid-December 2011 and once in early January 2012, when the surveillance was still underway, the police became aware that Mr .com was a resident and therefore should not have been under surveillance. That's bad enough, Mr Speaker, but then on the 16th of February, a meeting was held where Ian Fletcher, the director of the GCSB, somebody who reports directly to the Prime Minister, was present at a briefing where Kim.com's residency status was discussed, and immediately after which, Mr Speaker, it was realised that the spying had been unlawful. That is, Mr Key's chief spy was there in the room, a person that Mr Key may well know very well in other ways as well, was in the room, and he did not report this to Mr Key. That is what we're asked to believe. If it is true, it is a kind of oversight that New Zealanders would be ashamed of, Mr Speaker. We expect our Prime Minister to actually act on behalf of New Zealanders here, to play the role that he is meant to play in overseeing the spy agency. He has shown no signs of taking responsibility for his actions, Mr Speaker. This is a government, Mr Speaker, that is more interested in deals with its mates than it is in governing in the interests of New Zealanders. It is a government, Mr Speaker, that is so mired in scandals, so focused on its own mates and lining their pockets, Mr Speaker, that it has lost its focus on what it is meant to be doing, which is helping make New Zealanders' lives better. Well, Mr Speaker, I can be absolutely clear with you today. Help is on its way. The Labour Party sees this government in decline, and in 2014, New Zealanders will get the government they deserve, a government for the people of New Zealand, not the mates of the National Party.
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Oh, Mr Speaker, if that wasn't so sad, it would be funny. I mean, that really was an appalling attempt to pull out the old leaf out of the Labour Party.